I cried out again. Sheena! Dr. D! I was dragged below the surface again. I felt the slimy tentacles tighten around my ankle. As I sank underwater, I turned and saw it. It loomed huge and dark. A sea monster! Through the churning waters, it glared at me with one giant brown eye. The terrifying creature floated underwater like an enormous dark green balloon. Its mouth opened in a silent cry, revealing 2 rows of jagged teeth. An enormous octopus, but it had at least 12 tentacles. 12 long, slimy tentacles. One was wrapped around my ankle. Another one slid towards me. No! My arms thrashed in the water. I gulped in mouthfuls of air. I struggled to the surface, but the huge creature dragged me down again. I couldn't believe it. As I sank, scenes from my life actually flashed before my eyes. I saw my parents waving to me as I boarded the yellow school bus for my first day of school. Mom and Dad! I'll never see them again! What a way to go, I thought. Killed by a sea monster. No one will believe it. Everything started to turn red. I felt dizzy, weak. But something was pulling me up to the surface, away from the tentacled monsters. I opened my eyes, choking and sputtering. I stared up at Dr. D. Billy, are you all right? Dr. D studied me with concern. I coughed and nodded. I kicked my right leg. The slimy tentacle was gone. The dark creature had vanished. I heard you screaming and saw you thrashing about, said Dr. D. I swam over from the boat as fast as I could. What happened? Dr. D had a yellow life jacket on over his shoulders. He slipped a rubber lifesaver right over my head. I floated easily now, the life rising under my arms. I had lost my flippers in the struggle. My mask and snorkel dangled around my neck. Sheena swam over and floated beside me, treading water. It grabbed my leg, I cried breathlessly. It tried to pull me under. What grabbed your leg, Billy? Asked Dr. D. I don't see anything around here. It was a sea monster, I told him. A huge one. I felt its slimy tentacles grabbing my leg. Ouch! Something pinched my toe. It's back! I shrieked in horror. Sheena popped out of the water and shook her wet hair, laughing. That was me, you dork, she cried. Billy, Dr. D murmured. You and your wild imagination. He shook his head. You nearly scared me to death. Please don't ever do that again. Your leg probably got tangled in a piece of seaweed. That's all. But, I sputtered. He dipped his hand into the water and pulled up a handful of slimy green strings. There's seaweed everywhere. But I saw it, I shouted. I saw the tentacles. I saw its big pointy teeth. There's no such thing as sea monsters, said Sheena. Miss Know-It-All. Let's discuss this on the boat, my uncle said, dropping a clump of seaweed back into the water. Come on, swim back with me and stay away from the reef. Swim around it. He turned around and started swimming towards the Cassandra. I saw that the sea monster had pulled me into the lagoon. The reef lay between us and the boat. But there was a break in the reef. We could swim through. I followed them, thinking angry thoughts. Why didn't they believe me? I had seen the creature grab my leg. It wasn't a stupid clump of seaweed. It wasn't my imagination. I was determined to prove them wrong. I'd find that creature and show it to them myself. Someday, but not today. Now, I was ready to get back to the safety of the boat. I swam up to Sheena and called, Race you to the boat! Last one, there's a chocolate-covered jellyfish, she cried. Sheena can't refuse a race. She started speeding towards the boat, but I caught her by the arm. Wait, I said. No fair. You're wearing flippers. Take them off. Too bad, she said and pulled away. See you at the boat. I watched her splashing away, flipping up a good lead. She's not going to win, I decided. I stared at the reef up ahead. It would just be faster to swim over the reef. A shortcut. I turned and started to swim straight toward the red coral. Billy, get back here, Dr. D shouted. I pretended I didn't hear him. The reef loomed ahead. I was almost there. I saw Sheena splashing ahead of me, kicking extra hard. I knew she'd never had the guts to swim over the reef. She'd swim around the end of it. I would cut through and beat her. But my arm suddenly began to ache. I wasn't used to swimming so far. Maybe I can stop at the reef and rest my arms for a second, I thought. I reached the reef. I turned around. Sheena was swimming to the left, around the reef. I figured I had only a few seconds to rest. I stopped on the red coral reef and screamed in horror.